When my marriage was falling apart with my ex-wife, I was required by her to go to a therapist. This was
Ex-wife.
non-negotiable. If I did not go to a therapist, she was going to file for divorce immediately. So I found a therapist local in my area. I made an appointment. He took my insurance and I went.
Welcome to Pegasus versus the World, where we take on challenges, comedy, trending topics, and some travel. City boy! City boy! All right, I saw this one going into the stratosphere. I honestly don't know the premise yet, but let's show some love to his TikTok. This is Thunderleg 24. Yo, Thunderleg 24. Being forced to go to marriage therapist, to a marriage therapist. But apparently that didn't work because he said my ex-wife forced me to go. And that's what kind of drew me in, just because I remember going to a marriage counseling type of thing, but not for, I don't know what he went for. We lost two babies. We had stillborns when we started trying to have children. One at 6.5 months and one at 6 months, and it like tore like my wife. Like it really changed her, and she got really I don't know. It was just who wants to lose babies, obvious, it's not like it's different in the sense of someone who raised a child to a certain age and then something happens, right? But it's still a loss. It still hurts. It's still painful. I didn't feel like I needed to go to a therapist. I think I still would have managed without going. However, she wanted to go to like a group therapy to just be able to talk. I felt she was just, there was so many things going on. Anyways, we went. And I thought it was, overall it helped me communicate some things with her, but because she was having the issues opening up because the loss was so devastational to her, opening up and having certain conversations with me was a lot harder. And for me, I'm just like a communicator. I'm pretty open about things, but I do think it created this openness that we needed, that just a little more. We've always been pretty good, but I think it opened up, without getting too much into into our personal life. I thought it was overall helpful. But when I saw this being forced to go to marriage therapy or to a marriage therapist, I thought that was interesting, because in our situation, I was not forced. I was asked, and I actually was like, you know what, maybe this would be helpful, because we were in a very dark place. There was a lot of tensions rising slowly, and just like this, and the one thing is, when you go through stuff like that, I think you start to go to places where you want to blame someone, right? Like, oh, is something wrong with you? Is something wrong with me? Why can't we have children? Fast forward, we ended up having two beautiful children. We're raising kids, right? But this title spoke to me, so I wanted to see what this is about. Anyways, if you guys are here for it, like, share, comment, subscribe. Link in the description of my other channels. I showed you his TikTok. If you want to go rock with him, Thunderleg24, do that. Let's see what's cracking here. Let's bring it back to the beginning.
When my marriage was falling apart with my ex-wife, I was required by her to go to a therapist. This was non-negotiable. If I did not go to a therapist, she was going to file for divorce immediately. So I found a therapist local in my area. I made an appointment. He took my insurance and I went. At my first session, I sat down, I met the guy. He looked like the dad from Family Ties, like exactly like him. And we talk about my marriage, my relationship with my son, who was 2 at the time, her son, my stepkid, that was 8 or 9, her parents, her friends. And it was an hour and it was fine. My ex-wife was impressed. I actually went. She didn't think I was going to do it. So the second week was more the same, not much different. But at the end of the second session, the therapist was like, next week, I would like to see your wife and you together. See.
Dun, 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 dun. I wonder where this is going. So shout out to him for being a stepdad. That's probably one of the hardest positions to be in, if I'm being honest. And if I'm being truthfully honest, I wouldn't recommend it. Always I do believe in love and it conquering all and stuff like that. But, raising someone else's child is not easy. Let's just put it that way. It's not recommended. Shout out to all the men who've done it and did a good job, great. But the outcomes for that are typically not that great. This is interesting. He keeps saying ex-wife, so I'm really curious on where this goes. Let's rock.
See if you can make that happen. So I go home and I tell her, and she's like, absolutely. I can't wait. I will absolutely come with you. So I'm like, okay, great. She's got a lot to get off her chest, right? So the third session starts. The two of us are on the couch, and the therapist is asking her questions. He's not asking me anything. He's like, well, why do you think your husband has a problem with your friends? She goes, well, I work and I work with these people, and then once we're off the clock, we go out on a Saturday night or a Friday night, and when I call him and tell him I'm not going to be home to 2:30, he gets upset and tells me I'm not his, he's not my babysitter because he's not just watching our kid, but he's watching my kid, and I don't appreciate that. And he's like, well, you can kind of see his point. You are a married woman, and I'm like, oh.
Let's go. Oh, I gotta say something real quick, man. This is good. I told y'all, like, I didn't even need to hear the whole story. Once you start hearing certain dynamics, you overall certain things just tend to happen over and over again, right? See the same problematic behaviors, da 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 da. What is a married woman doing going out with her coworkers till 2:30 in the morning? Think about that just for 5 seconds, please. And we know they were probably drinking, right? No, 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 no. That's not happening. That's not happening. A married woman, even a married man, it's like, bruh, like, I, bro, come on, dog. Yo, come on, dog. Hey, babe, I'm going out with the homies. I'll be home at 2:30 or 3. And the other thing is like, I've gotten more selfish with my time in the sense that I need to be home and get back home safely for my children. The likelihood and chances of something bad happening to me always increase after like dark, when it gets dark, or like 10 p.m., right? Being out late night in the streets. Not that anything is like people are just lurking to murk you, but it's just all the stuff like drunk drivers, robberies, gang violence. Everything starts poking its head up, later. I'm like, man, I gotta get home to my kids, man. They need me, man. What would I be look like being out till even 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and let alone I don't drink, so I've never had to deal with that. That's probably why some of my outcomes have been better than others. But he didn't say she was drinking, but you ain't out with your coworkers not drinking until 2:30 in the morning. Oh, we just stayed at Rick's house and played Uno. It was so fun. We played Monopoly at Beth's house. Come on, bro. That's crazy.
Babysitter because he's not just watching our kid, but he's watching my kid, and I don't appreciate that. And he's like, well, you can kind of see his point. You are a married woman, and I'm like, oh. And you could see the steam coming out of her ears, and every other thing that he was talking to her about or bringing up, he was basically taking my side in, and I'm like shaking my head. I'm like, you gotta stop. Like, stop this. You're gonna get me in trouble. So the session ends. We're walking out in the parking lot. She goes, I don't know where you found him, but he's a quack. I'm not coming back here again. Matter of fact, you probably know this guy somehow, some way. And this was a setup. And the marriage was officially over 5 weeks later.
Sheesh. Man, I kind of dude, it's kind of weird how like a tick like talk like that will kind of have you invested. Like you kind of want to know more of his story. Anyways, you know what's interesting, that there's something that I relate to here. When I went to this therapy stuff with my wife, and I only did the group stuff and then I was gone. My wife did the group and she had solo therapy. I probably would have never went to therapy in my life if it wasn't for my wife. And I thought it was cool. I still think I would have made it to this point. I think it helped nullify a couple of things and help us get through a few um, relationship things faster. But I think we would have got there anyway because we're both pretty solid people, down to earth people in general. You know, we have our pros and cons. Neither of us are perfect, but I do think we were going to get there without it. But I think she needed that extra person to talk to and really take in her pain, and that was her counselor or therapist. You guys want to know the craziest thing, the saddest thing in life? My wife saw her because my wife to this day still struggles with the loss of our children. I do too when I really dive deep and think about it, but it's kind of compartmentalized. I just keep moving, you know. But she's really still like, it's just something like it's changed her, you know, losing two children. And why shouldn't it, you know? But anyways, the saddest thing that ever happened. I don't know if it was 4 or 5 years deep into therapy, right? Because me and her only went to therapy, I think like 6 months, 8 months, something like that, together. And then I was out. I'm like, I'm out this bit. I hate conformity, structure, school, talk. Like, I'm just like, I just talk to people openly. I'll just open up. I don't need to sit on the couch and, you know, I talk enough as it is on the internet. However, her therapist passed away in 2020 from COVID. It was insane. It was unbelievable. Her therapist was very overweight. COVID took her out and it crushed my wife. So not only did she, you know, go through the pain of losing two children, now we're starting to raise our first daughter, and the person she like depended on to talk and just express, like they went back and forth. They were like, they became, you know, kind of friends. Like when someone listens to your pain and identifies with it. I remember she gave me the call and she's like, yo, I almost said her name, but her therapist passed away. And I was like, what? From what? Like COVID. I was like, we just talked to her a week ago and she was just bouncing back in the hospital. She had a relapse and she's gone now. What? And I was one of those dudes during 2020 who was like, I'm still to this day like, and people get on me, but I'm not wearing that damn mask. That shit is not what they're telling you it is. Like, it doesn't work. It's come out now that it didn't work. It doesn't work for flu stuff. Like, it just does not. It doesn't work. But again, I was one of those people where, you know, I understood what the Rona was, and I was pushing back because I knew, like, and before it has come out that it was, you know, leaked from a lab and stuff. I was just like, no, it was. I know it. These MFers. So I was a little radicalized at the time, you could say, and that's one of the times where it's like, kicked me in the nuts, slapped me in the face, because regardless of where it came from, it started taking our loved ones. And I would consider her therapist a loved one because they were very, very close, probably closer than any of her friends, because she told her deeper things than any of her friends would know, and maybe even some of her family, because most people don't allow you to open up that much. So, yeah, you know, she wasn't the only person we lost to the Rona. And yeah, I remember that, man. I was like, you know, I was getting kind of intense and extreme online about, you know, the Rona. And I still, you know, most of the stuff I said was accurate. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I was this, that, the other, because so much stuff has come out when you really, because a lot of people forgot about it and just stuck with their own beliefs instead of being like, oh, damn, that came out. Oh, that actually came out to be true. And the media didn't do any retractions, you know. The only places really talking about it was podcasts. And this is why podcast is doing better than the media, because they were the only ones who kept it somewhat real. But anyways, that's a whole nother story. The other story was with the therapy. I had a female therapist. I didn't feel comfortable with that. I would have been more comfortable with a man. I probably would have I opened up almost 95%, but there's 5% I held back. I didn't think she'd understand the man's perspective. If I'm just being honest. She's not a man. She can hear it and say, oh, men think, or they typically do stuff like this or have these thoughts. But she's a woman. And I didn't feel comfortable giving her that 5%, fellas, if you know what I mean. They know what I mean. Men and women are different. So the one thing I would recommend is, if you do have a therapist and you're a man, talk to a man. I think you'll let it all out, because I didn't let it all out personally. I was just like, yeah, told the meat and potatoes. Like I said, 95%. And, you know, what we did work on was helpful for our marriage. But there's still like, there's some stuff where I was like, man, I wish I could just say this and just get an honest opinion about da 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 da, you know? Hey. Anyways, let me know what I got, what I missed. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.
City boy, city boy.